Now, I was just playing around with my ChatGPT, and this might surprise you. I asked ChatGPT, approximately, how much does the UK government, HMRC, receive from UK taxpayers every year? And it said, and I read it, and I'm quoting exactly, you can check it for yourself. It said, the UK government receives approximately £1.1 trillion from income tax. Then I asked ChatGPT, approximately, how much would it cost to send every child in the UK to university? ChatGPT responded, to send every child in the UK to university, it would cost the UK government approximately 17 billion per year. Then I asked ChatGPT, how much would it cost to end homelessness? And it came back saying, end homelessness in the UK per year, it would cost the UK government approximately 1 billion. Then I got thinking. Then I asked ChatGPT, tell me, how much so far has the UK government spent in supporting the war efforts in the Ukraine to date? ChatGPT responded by saying, to support the war effort in the Ukraine, the UK government has approximately spent 13 billion so far. Now, the UK government receives 1.1 trillion pounds per year. Is the mathing for you? Based on what they tell us, they could potentially wipe out homelessness and send every child to university, not even to make a tiny dent on what they receive in income tax.
The government has you fooled into thinking you have to do what it says. I mean, let's look at it in its most basic form. What is government? Government is nothing more than a group of men and women sat around a table in the houses of Westminster, and they write things down on pieces of paper and say, this is going to be a new law, and then they sign it, and then they say, this is a new law. Now, the people of the UK, you must obey this new law. But let's put it like this. What about if myself and a group of friends got round a table and we sat down and we wrote down a list of rules and we all signed it and we stood up and said, people of the UK, you now have to obey the rules that we've just made. What would the people say? They'd say, no, fuck off. Who are you? And this is exactly what happens with Westminster. We've been fooled into thinking that because they reunite and they get together and they have meetings in a very elaborate palace in London, that somehow we have to obey what they say. But we don't. You see, democracy is where the people decide, not where the government decides. It's where the people decide. And if the government make a decision that the people don't like, the people can just say no. The problem is we've forgotten that we have the right to say no. So it's time for us to start saying no. Don't you think?
Welcome to Thamesmead, everyone. Where there seems to be a little bit of a housing crisis. There's a lot of abandoned houses. There's also a lot of homeless people. But they're also scheduled to knock this all down. But I get it. Peabody, houses, nobody. Is this your idea of charity? 198 plus empty homes. I can believe it as well. There's a lot of empty houses here. Loads of them, look. I mean, surely we could just give them to the people that need it most, just temporarily, until it all gets knocked down, and then you could move them somewhere else, surely. I'm no expert. There's a lot of empty houses.
So I was made homeless since Friday, so we're Tuesday now. I went to the housing on Monday, Basildon housing, and let me tell you, not the staff, but whoever makes the decisions, they've got to be the worst council borough to help with homelessness out of anything. I've got pals that were homeless in Canvey and were housed the same day, same as Brentwood and where else? Southend. They all house you and will help you straight away if they say you're in need. Basildon do not want to help me. I've had mental health in the past. I've been in the MHU unit in Basildon. I've showed them all the proof and they don't want to help. I want people to spread this and spread the word of how bad they are. Thank you.
Let out the bag!
I ain't been on Lincoln Road for a long time, but wow, is this a body spot? Shit, man.
He was not planning on
film this video. Oh, for God's sake. I don't even want to say the words, but I know that everything looks so great and we're so incredibly lucky to know for the orders we receive and for the reviews that we also receive for our products. And I can't tell you how happy it makes me knowing that my products are helping people. But if I'm being honest, we're not successful. White Rabbit will be 9 next month, and I never thought it would get to the point where I would potentially need to consider closing it down. Because we're not getting the orders, ingredients are so expensive, VAT charges, we are getting muscled out, or we have been, by bigger companies with millions of pounds worth of marketing budget.
The cost of living crisis in London is ridiculous right now. And you can hear the rain hitting against my window, so you already know I'm in London, right? If you want to make it in London, you have to come to terms with it's not okay to be average. It's not okay to work a normal job. And by that, I mean, you can't be a bus driver and support your family. Gone are the days where you could work standard roles in retail, maybe become a retail manager in a few years, get an apartment, rent it out. Those days are gone. You can't accumulate wealth the same way. A lot of people might just complain about the system and that's all, just go into a cycle of how horrible things are, which I completely agree. But no one's coming to save you. That is the deepest thing. When you're in your late 20s, 30s, sleeping at your mum's house because you can't afford market price rent, and you're waiting on the council flat list because the only way you're going to survive is getting a council flat, no one's going to come help you. And it's actually horrible seeing how a lot of people live. But it's so important to start considering exit strategies.
UK, Britain, Britannia, step forward, please, I beg. What do you mean you sold the Royal Mail? what does that mean? What do you mean you sold it? Stop selling things. Why do you keep selling things? You know what, yeah? For a country that hates foreigners, you sure love selling things to foreign people. What do you mean you sold it? To a foreign man as well. Me, a sun-kissed individual, is even telling you that you shouldn't have done it. That was a bad idea. You couldn't even have sold it to like a British investor. What do you mean you sold it to a foreigner? Am I crying? Winters. Anyway, what do you mean you sold it to a foreign man? Again, another thing. Stop selling things. I would have thought that you would have learned your lesson from the mess that you caused with our public transport, because half of it is owned by everybody but us. It's owned by everybody but us. I would have thought you would have learned your lesson. No. You sold it. You know you can say no. You know, what are you not so scared of? Why can't we just nationalise everything? Like, what is so bad about that? Me, in a country that hates me, is telling you, why is that so bad? I'm asking you, genuine question.
I live alone, and like I said, I am quite comfortable in my own company, but sometimes I realise I haven't spoken to anyone in 3 or 4 days. And whilst yes, I can, film content and speak to people and whatnot, I still haven't had a physical conversation with a human being, and that can be quite a lonely thought when you think about it.
When someone asks how much you saved in UK after pay your tax, rent, groceries.
Look at this. Perfect. Oh my God.
I'm not about to come on the internet and cry my ass out. That is not me. But I have to be transparent and honest with you. And right now, my business is struggling. I know it may look shiny on the outside, and that's because that's how I've made it look. But moving forward, I need to be more honest with not only myself, but with you guys as well. I am worried about my business. As you know, I run my business full time. I do it from home to keep my costs low, but I have a minimum of what I need to make in a month, and at the minute it is really hard to just even make the minimum. I, like most businesses, have relied upon TikTok to push me out because it always has, but TikTok is not the same as it used to be. Back in the day, I would easily have 100 minimum in my lives, and then June last year, it was like the flick of a switch, something changed, and then my views went down to around 50. Now, I'm lucky if I can have like 30 people in a live, sometimes maybe 40. If I'm lucky, it might even push up to 50. But these days, a lot of the time, it's less than 30 people in my live, and that is primarily down to TikTok not pushing me out.
When people say the UK is falling apart, this is what they mean. So today, my startup Yasso had a huge meeting in Manchester with a clean beauty brand that we're looking to launch in China on our solution. That's not the point. The point is, it cost us £150 per person to travel from London to Manchester. My one co-founder is actually based in Berlin. His flight return from Berlin to Manchester only cost him £20. To travel 2 hours by train in the UK, the 6th largest economy, one of the richest countries in the world, cost 7 times more than flying from Berlin to Manchester. I mean, like, I'm actually lost for words. Fortunately, we're doing okay, we can afford that. But for other businesses, if they're looking to travel around the UK for meetings, it's impossible to do. And now I know with Zoom and remote working, you don't need to travel anymore. But maybe occasionally you do. Maybe people need that face-to-face. And this country makes it almost impossible to do that. Now, we're based in London. Most of the business happens down here. But what if you're a startup in Manchester or Leeds or Birmingham and you need to travel down to London to meet VCs for your investment committee for a big investor meeting? You just can't afford to do it. That's why so many businesses in the north aren't getting funded. That's why there's such a split between London and the rest of the country, because it costs 7 times more to go from London to Manchester on the train than it does to fly from Berlin to Manchester. Like, this is a joke.